southern border crisis and the Disinformation Governance Board controversy. If we can get through the lightning round. Congressman, welcome back.
Good evening, Shannon.
Okay, so this is what Speaker Pelosi said about that package. She says, as Putin desperately accelerates his brutality in Ukraine, time is of the essence. This urgent package includes military aid, support for the Ukrainian economy, and humanitarian assistance for food security to address the worldwide hunger crisis stemming from Putin's invasion. So why were you a no?
Well, first of all of our hearts go out to the people of Ukraine. Obviously, we are horrified at what Putin and the Russians are doing to the Ukrainian people. And it's in our national security interest to push back on Putin. Nobody denies that. But we spent $13 billion as part of a big package earlier this year. Now they come to us. First, it was going to be another $15 billion. Then it was $33 billion. Then suddenly it was $40 billion. We got it at 3 p.m. yesterday. We were then voting on the rule by the evening. We were voting on the bill by 8 o'clock. Keep in mind that $53 billion total, that's the entire annual budget of the Department of Homeland Security, Shannon. And we're voting on that in a matter of days without any briefing, without any strategy, without any effort by the administration or Democrats to open up American oil and gas, without any indication as to exactly what we're going to get out of this money. And I hear Democrats occasionally say something like, quote, we're at war. Well, Shannon, the last time I checked the Constitution, if we're at war, Congress has to vote to declare war. I am all for supporting Ukrainians, but I represent Americans. I have a job, and there used to be an old adage called guns versus butter, and we ain't doing that. We're just writing a big blank check, and that's not good for our country or Ukraine. We need to have a concerted strategy, and I want to hear it before I'm voting on $40 billion in a blank check, which, by the way, was unpaid for and is a massive slush fund to, for example, the State Department. $13 billion going to the State Department. $1 billion for refugee resettlement. All sorts of dollars going to NGOs in 30 pages of very basically vague terms. We don't know where the money's going. The taxpayers deserve better.
Yeah, I can't imagine you had time to read all of it if it came together at 3 p.m. But let's talk about the border crisis. Your home state of Texas is front and center here. Title 42 is set to be rolled back. It was a measure that, because of the COVID pandemic, was being used to turn people away or return them across the border. TheNewRepublic.com has a piece here. They're celebrating that. They say Biden is finally maybe ending Title 42, but Trump's cruel border policies aren't over. They say public health officials, including former CDC personnel, have uniformly stated that the order does nothing to combat the spread of COVID, and most of the policy's defenders have all but given up on the pretense that it has anything to do with public health. Your response?
Yeah, well, that's absolutely absurd. The fact that Title 42 is about to expire is going to be actually the final nail in the coffin to the total failure by this administration to secure the border. I asked Alejandro Mayorkas in the House Judiciary Committee 2 weeks ago, point blank, do we have operational control of the border? He dared to look at me, the camera, and the American people to say, yes, we do. Shannon, you know full well we've had over 2 million apprehensions, 1 million people released into the United States, some 700,000 gotaways. We now have the CDC today saying 107,000 Americans have died from opioid poisonings and overdoses throughout this country, massively escalating, huge percentage increases. You showed video from Kinney County, which is just outside of the district I represent in Central Texas, heading south, and you're seeing the effect on ranches and on people. But also, I hate this business, and I sit here as a Christian, as somebody who looks at the migrants that I've talked to at the border, and I look in their eyes, and I see the hundreds of migrants that are dying and ending up in mobile morgues and body trailers and dead in ranches or dead in the Rio Grande River, or the National Guardsman that was in the river when I was in Eagle Pass just a couple of weeks ago. And I hear my Democrat colleagues try to pat themselves on the back that they're somehow compassionate. It's absurd. And they're endangering the American people. Alejandro Mayorkas is lying to the American people. They're allowing asylum to be the exception that swallows the rule of border security. And that's what the American people need to understand. This isn't compassion to put a big sign on our border saying, come on in, and then let people flood the zone, allowing cartels to abuse them and allow them to get abused in the process and die in the process. And then Americans take it on the chin in terms of tax dollars, schools, in terms of what we deal with finding dead migrants, in terms of fentanyl, in terms of dead Americans, dangerous individuals, or the 42 people on a terrorist watch list, which took them 8 months, them being DHS, 8 months to respond to my request to tell us that there were 42 and almost 400 gang members. This is a real problem. The American people are seeing it, and I think they're tired of having the administration lie to them that the border is somehow secure with operational control.
Well, even the Washington Post, no right-wing rag, has called out Secretary Marcus and awarded him several Pinocchios on some of his claims about what's actually happening at the border. And as you and I always talk about, we have to remember there are people on both sides of the border, precious lives that are being destroyed by this chaos that has to be figured out. And we hope there will be a bipartisan solution. Chip Roy, Congressman, good to see you.
Good night, Shannon. Good to be on as always.